Hey Perdue, this is Keaton Everett with ABC going over your pitching video from camp. We're going to go through and talk a little bit about your motion, a little bit about your delivery and mechanics, and try to get you to a point where you're using a little bit more lower half, you're staying closed a little bit longer, and just kind of timing yourself up a little bit, kind of cleaning up your sort of your initial leg lift, sort of how you're starting, and we'll kind of go through and talk a little bit about that. We'll just kind of go through step by step and talk a little bit about your motion here. So basically we'll go back here to the start. Alright, so I know you're just kind of pitching here, you're on flat ground, not a game like. You see, you just kind of reach for the ball, and you step back, and then you're kind of starting your motion without really coming set. So just make sure you're treating this like a game. You're pretending there's a rubber back here. You're setting up like you would if there's a hitter in the box. So just make sure that your setup is good. You can see that your foot's kind of facing off here down that third base line, so you just got to make sure that setup's there. And if you're just kind of reaching down, rolling through it, you're not going to be able to get that setup. So just make sure you're setting up right. Alright, next thing too is you can see here that ball's come out of your glove. So you can see it starts in the glove, comes out of the glove, goes back into the glove. Alright, so we want to try to clean that up. Alright, pitching's all about getting consistent. It's all about repeatability of our motion, and so we got to make sure that we're limiting movement. We're limiting excess movement so we can time. So you got to make sure that basically upper body up, we're basically not doing a whole lot. So we got to make sure that once you start that leg lift, alright, that ball never comes out of that glove. So you're coming, that leg's coming up here and that ball's still in the glove. Alright, just don't have it pop out, pop back in. Alright. So now the next point we look at is the height of this left leg here. So you can see it gets up to about right here. Alright, now you're starting forward. Okay, so now what we look at, alright, see now your hands are back in here. Another thing about that sort of the efficiency of movement, try to get this glove and your hand kind of closer to your body. Try to tuck it in a little bit closer to your belly button, to your waist, below the chest. It's just the farther out you are, the more variations that can be. We want to start at the exact same place, so if we're right next to our body, kind of have that checkpoint, we know it's a lot easier to recreate. Alright, so just tuck those hands down there. Alright, you are getting yourself in a good position. Lower body wise, you have your hips closed. That back foot's back over that front foot's over that back leg. Alright, so now this is where the whole timing process of the delivery starts. So this is one of the most important parts right here, because if we're not starting correctly, we're not going to be able to finish correctly. So the timing of this right here, alright, is we want hips to start going forward. We want to see that the ball start breaking out of that glove, and then all this heel's just going to kind of lead, and that knee's just going to kind of drop, staying behind your hips. Alright, so as we start sinking forward, you can see you're getting some good movement, your hips are breaking. Alright, everything's going good up until about right here, and I want you to watch this back leg, and I want you to watch this front leg. Alright, what you're going to see is your hips initially start forward, but then you're going to see this leg swing around kind of like a door, and then you're going to see this back leg collapse down on itself. Alright, so as we get going forward, you can see that left leg really bend down. Now we're close to 90 degrees. You can see this front leg bent now too, and then you can see how your foot's outside of your hips now. Alright, so at this point we want to try to stay a little bit taller on that back leg. We don't get any power from bending our knee, from flexing that knee. Alright, we get our power from our hips. So you want to try to lock that in place a little bit more, put some direction on the inside of that part of that knee. Alright, so then as you're getting forward, this foot's not coming in. Alright, we want to try to keep this a little bit farther out in front of our foot here, so you kind of want to not let it swing back, behind this line here, because what I'm going to show you a little bit later is that it causes you to open up early. So what we want to try to get to is more movement forward with your body before this foot gets in front of your hip. So you want to try to get, here. Now your foot, is just almost getting next to your hips. Maybe now it's starting to swing out. Maybe now it's here. So you can see you're just a little bit early, and then you're going to notice how you're really stepping outside this line. So you're really opening them up, and what all that is because you're coming out here. You kind of tuck that foot back in, cross that line early, and you're just not getting your body going forward enough. So if we're getting our body going forward more, we're just driving it as much as we can, as closed as we can, down the mound. We're going to get away from sort of landing open. All right, so now at your foot strikes, once that front foot first hits the ground, which is right here, all right, you can see how this foot's still sort of facing towards that third base line. We don't have any movement with our back hip. All right, your arm angle back here is fine, and you can see how this front side's dropped down and your weight's down over your front foot. All right, we can tell that's down over that front foot because that knee is almost over that ankle. All right, so ideally at foot strike, what we'd want to see is we want to see this front side shoulder and elbow still closed off. All right, so we'd see it at this position. All right, at this spot in our lower half. Let me redraw this top part. So you're more almost matched. If that match those elbows and shoulders. And so now this, and then at foot strike, what we want to see is this back heel starting to come off the ground a little bit. And the reason it's coming off the ground is because we got that pressure on that inside part of that knee, and so we're getting a little bit of angle here. All right, so that heel started to come off, not all the way up, but just kind of getting a little bit off the ground. And what that's going to do is get you to stay back more. So then when we're landing, we're not down over that front foot. We're closed off more, but our weight at foot strike is still over this back hip. It's still on this knee, instead of out front. So we just got to make sure you're staying back more and getting a little bit better load on your back side. All right, and then through your release, all right, the more we can keep this front side closed, the more we can keep these hips closed, you're going to be able to see yourself get out front a little bit more through your release and get a little bit more torque. So torque is basically the ability for your lower half, your hips, to start going forward before your upper body. All right, so you can see how your shoulders are starting before your hips, and then they kind of come at the same time. We want to try to get to this spot with your hips, and that upper body's back here in that spot we kind of drew a few seconds ago. So now you're back here, your hips have started forward, and then that shoulder comes through, and not at the same time. All right, because then you see through your release, you're doing a good job at keeping your glove fixed. All right, so you're getting pretty good and getting out over that front foot, which is pretty good. But you're seeing yourself pop that back foot up off the ground. We want to try to see you keep that back foot on the ground, drive all the way through it, and so you're just getting a little bit more power. If you're thinking about if you're going to punch somebody, you want to punch somebody on one leg standing or two legs. It's more bounce, you can get more power. So we just want to try to drive through that back leg more. But your glove is fixed, you're getting out over that front foot good. Now it's just a matter of just staying back a little bit more, cleaning up your initial start to your mechanics, and then it's just a matter of just keeping that weight back and just kind of re-syncing your lower half a little bit to get that working more. Keep the hips closed, drive them farther down the mound, stay on target, and you're going to be adding a lot more velocity and doing a lot better. So hopefully you had a good time at camp. Thanks for making it out. We look forward to seeing you again with ABC.